Like, this right here seems like an unnecessary ploy. I guess... I'm trying to think about, like, why they would do this. And the only thing that can come to mind is that they had, like, a public face of Borgen being incompetent to kind of trick the rebels into thinking they had more time than they did. But honestly, I don't see any tactical advantage in doing that. And the Dreadnought flies off. The Dreadnought looks a lot like the Invincible in Final Fantasy III. I wonder, in the NES version, did they use the same sprites for that? I don't recall. It's been a very long time since I played the NES versions of Final Fantasy II and III. Alright. Yeah, let's just do this. Want to use my MP up. Hey, that's what I want to see. MP boosts from... MP and magic boosts on Guy. That's the, like, major thing I want to see on him. At least for now. Later on, Spirit's going to be much more important. And then, of course, we're going to have to... He does need a certain level of HP. But honestly, he's going to get that just from... No. He's going to get that just from... us killing things with the whole you gain hit points every 10 battles. Alright, let's get out of here. Unfortunately, you can't teleport, I don't think, because we're still considered to be, yeah, in the town. So we have to walk out like chumps. So, let me show you something. Can't really demonstrate it here, but the way the experience works for weapons and magic is they really take into account the rank of enemies. So uh-oh. Aw. I was hoping Guy would get his blink in. So, there is actually a point when you get so little experience from using something that it's best to just move on. I don't think grinding is required at all, especially in this version of the game. This version of the game is, like, incredibly easy. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because most Final Fantasy games are easy. Trying to think. What is the hard... Final Fantasy II on the NES is probably the hardest Final Fantasy game, I would say. Let me think about that. No, I don't know. It's probably a tie between FF2 NES and FF3 NES. The original 3 Final Fantasy games are probably the hardest in the series, but this is much more in line with the difficulty of modern Final Fantasies, honestly. Modern Final Fantasy games are very exploitable, I guess. Final Fantasy XIII was difficult to me, but that's because of how fast the battle system moved. And it just took some getting used to. But once you got used to it, it wasn't that bad. Final Fantasy 13 also didn't have as many exploitable like things you could do in it. You know, Final Fantasy 7 had like Quadra Magic, counter Knights of the Round or whatever, you know. Final Fantasy 8 had pretty much everything. Alright. Let's go talk to Sid then. I need to go back and stay at the inn. Let's do that. We're doomed! Sure. Ow! I don't know if you heard that, but that was my shoulder popping. You know, there's a bunch of games on the like this is just a completely different tangent. There's a bunch of games on the 3DS that I really want to LP, and I will never be able to LP them because you cannot like beg, borrow, or steal one of those capture boards. I even looked on like going on eBay and buying like a 3DS with the capture board already like put in it, and you just can't find them. They have those. They have basically 3 people make them. One of them is pretty much Europe only. One of them, the one that's considered the best, is always sold out. And then there's like one called by people called like Katsukitty, and everyone I've seen says the Katsukitty ones are awful and you shouldn't buy them. But I don't know. I just don't know. Let's hit him with a Thunder Spell and Blink. So, right now is the last chance you're going to have to get Minwu's Arcane Labyrinth weapon. So, like, if you want to go get the Arcane Labyrinth weapons, and Minwu's is probably the most useful. Like, if you only want to get one weapon, Minwu's is the one you want to get. So, just throwing that out there. So, you might notice that there are craters now everywhere. So, the Empire has shelled, I think, Palum, Poft, Gatria, and Finn. Not Finn. They didn't shell Finn. They own Finn. Altair. And they killed most of the NPCs. I think all the NPCs that were outside pretty much died. Which is really, really weird to me. Like, the Empire just spends so much of its time just indiscriminately murdering everybody. It's like, what good is ruling the world if you reduce the population below a point where you can no longer see, all of Sid's people are dead here. It's like they've killed so many people by the end of the game that I'm not sure if there's enough humans left to sustain a population. Ah. Well, what's Sunfire? Okay, so we've got to get Sunfire and throw it in the engine. Oh, no, I need to take the boat here. I could take the airship, but the boat is almost as good. Plus, it'll allow me to take the boat back up there again when I come back this way. I really like the soundtrack in this game. It's very good. Alright, see, this place has been bombed as well. While I'm thinking about it, stop, there we go. Buy another mithril shield. Let me think. 2, 4, 5. Yeah. Dang it. I'm just never gonna stop hitting square instead of triangle to go into the menu. Okay. 81 and 82. Nice. Okay. And I've got one more mithril shield for later. So let's talk to Hilda. I was gonna say, where's the music? All the NPCs out there, all they say is, we took cover when they started shelling the city. So, before you talk to Hilda here, you need to make sure that Minwoo has the best equipment you can put on him. Because he doesn't join the party again before Soul of Rebirth. So, everything he has equipped now is what he's going to have in Soul of Rebirth. And Minwoo is gone, which is sad because he's literally the best party member to join in the entire game. Okay, so let's ask about the Dreadnought. Let's ask about Sunfire. Ah! So, going to Cashuan Keep is... That's a red herring. You're not supposed to get Cashuan Keep. Because you don't have anything to bring the flame back with. Eagle's Torch, huh? Okay. Ah, the goddess spell. Someone close to Scott or Gordon. Well, if you remember from the very beginning of the game, Scott was in love with Hilda. So, yeah, if only Gordon weren't a flaky little butthole. Flaky little goober. Ah, but Joseph knows the way. So, back to Salamand. I've got plenty of MP for the journey. I don't need to stay at the inn. Take that! Alright, let's get on out of here. Let's take the boat back. Actually, I think I'm going to take the boat and then the airship to Salamand. Save myself the walk. I keep bumping my microphone. I've got my microphone on this new, like, arm thing because of the way my setup is now. And it's a lot closer to my face. So every time I touch my face, I bump my microphone. Blah, blah, blah. We want to go to Salaman. So let me take this opportunity to talk about the unarmed skill in the game. I'm going to get probably a lot of hate for this, and personally, I really, I don't have 1,000 gil to buy. That's what I needed that money for. Son of a gun. I normally have a deep respect for punching things in video game, you know. I think it takes balls to put down the sword and just, like, go mano a mano with your fists. Let's ask about the goddess spell. So we get Proto Yang in our party, and he's even got a mustache. He looks a lot like Yang, actually. Visually, I really like the way Joseph looks. Like, he's got a poncho on. Ponchos are cool. I don't care what you say. Anyway, Joseph is a physical beast, and they want you to, I guess, have him punch things, and that's fine in the versions of the game that don't have. Look at all those stats, by the way. Anyway, punching things is fine in the versions of the game where you don't have the Soul of Rebirth, because Joseph is not in your party long term. Well, Joseph is one of the characters that joins your party in Soul of Rebirth, and that means there's problems with him using Barehanded. Barehanded attacks give you no evasion, okay? And while they have lots of power early on, they suffer from, like, more than any other weapon, they suffer from the diminishing effects, diminishing returns on, like, skill experience. And the reason for this is because their attack power is determined by your skill level. So it is not very feasible to get anything higher than 9 or 10 by the end of the game. And without going out of your way and doing, like, biblical levels of grinding, okay? Even though the max level is 16, you're never going to see 16. So you run into this situation where his physical attacks are not as powerful because you can't get high enough attack power as opposed to just equipping one of the weapons, you know. However, the big thing is the lack of evasion, in my opinion, because the attack power difference it's close enough, you know. He can still do pretty good damage with his fists at the end of Soul of Rebirth, but the evasion is a really big problem, because then Joseph ends up dying a lot, and he just ends up falling far behind. The enemies in Soul of Rebirth hit really hard, and they have nasty status effects on their attacks, so taking any of the hits is bad. So even if you equip him with the heaviest, most sturdiest armor that you can get in Soul of Rebirth, he's still going to die way too much. So I like putting a weapon on him for Soul of Rebirth. Any weapon works. I don't recommend you do maces because you cannot get the ultimate mace in Soul of Rebirth. So that's not a good choice for him. All the other characters except Joseph, they get an ultimate weapon in Soul of Rebirth. Let me see. Snowcraft right here. So you know, Minwu, his ultimate weapon is a staff in Soul of Rebirth. A mace, staff, whatever. But that doesn't count for him. Swords are not a good choice because you cannot get the mass immune, but the mass immune is really kind of a special case. The next best sword is the Excalibur, and you can get the Excalibur, but to get the Excalibur you have to go to a specific spot and wait for literally the rarest encounter in the game, like the lowest chance encounter in the game, and then get lucky enough to actually win the Excalibur. Spears are not very good because you can get the Holy Lance, but they're only available, they only drop from dragons, and with a few exceptions, I think, that where, you know, I think you can fight a few dragons in chests. I might be thinking of the final dungeon in the regular game. But anyway, you can't reliably find dragons in Soul of Rebirth until literally the floor the final boss is on. So that really only leaves axes and daggers, and honestly, either one is fine. If it makes you feel any better, the Arcane Labyrinth weapon for Joseph is actually a dagger. Daggers and axes are really good choices because their weapons, their ultimate versions of their weapons, are relatively easy to farm in Soul of Rebirth. You don't have to go too far out of your way to get them. I didn't restore my MP, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Eh. Scratch my shoulder. Thunk, thunk. I do want to save my MP for when we get onto the snowfield. The enemies get a little harder. Alright, ooh. Axe level, that's good. Strength, that's also good.